was a lot. It was heavy booing. I think Guidetti's kind of seen a decent light because he's Swedish, and I think they're maybe hoping that he's going to come out like the other famous Swedish striker we had. But totally different style of players.
Yeah.
And everybody was just they were all shouting for Stokes to get fuck. But you were replacing Guidetti wasn't really doing anything anyway. And you'd be replacing Stokes with Griffiths and putting Griffiths out wide, which we've seen doesn't really work. People complain he should be playing through the middle. So when it wasn't working for Guidetti, take Guidetti off, put Griffiths to the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I know Skepovic is obviously kind of injured at the point.
Skepovic was on the bench. Well, that was the other big fact, the fact they've got a £2.4 million striker on the bench, but again, it's another striker who's struggling with confidence.
Yeah,
he's not scored yet.
No, I think he pulled up in training last week, so I assume they didn't start him because maybe they don't think he was fully fit. So maybe they had.
But I mean, still, he must be fit enough to play there at some point in the game because he was on the bench. Or else that's a waste because we had four attacking players on the bench.
Well, why didn't he bring him on then? If he is fit, I mean, this is the
is he a John Park signing? Can we say that? I mean,
it wasn't a Deila signing, apparently.
Well, do you know the amount of guys that have been identified, that have obviously been identified by our scouting team? Tonev, Guidetti, Tonev said, obviously we did try to sign him last summer. Guidetti said we'd try to sign him a few times in the past. Now, I'm not saying that Deila doesn't have the ultimate say-so on whether we sign a player. I'm not saying that. Maybe the case might not be the case. But Skepovic, it almost looks as if to me that Deila's saying, I don't really want him. I signed him because I wanted somebody in before the deadline, which is why he's on the bench, why he's not getting onto the pitch, unless he's not met Deila's fabled fitness standards. Maybe he caught him with, I don't know, a box of Pecora in the dressing room or something.
Or caught him at Still Game drinking pints.
Aye.
Who knows?
That's a rumour that's going around about certain players. But, I mean, I don't know. It just strikes me as if Deila's said, I don't fancy you.
Yeah.
Not sexually, but,
And listen, if he did, there would be nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Just Hamilton, do they deserve any credit?
Oh, yeah, they do. Because, they were clinical. Two or three chances, and he took one of them. There was spots in the game where when Hamilton had possession of the ball, they were putting it about a bit. They do look like they're going to be a good side. They are going to do. I think they'll definitely stay in the league.
Yeah,
I can't see them dropping out.
Yeah, but I think going forward on the break and the fact that they pressed us, they deserve a lot of credit for that. In terms of defensively, I think they rode their luck like we did against Dinamo. But you need that luck, and you can't say anything other than well done for the first one at Celtic Park in 78 years or something.
Yeah.
So absolutely, they're top of the league after 8 games. For a promoted side, that's fantastic.
It's terrific stuff. It really is. I mean, so they're top. Celtic are 6th. If Celtic win their match in hand, it'll be a mere 3 points behind. Anything else you want to kind of make? I mean, Pucky. Let me ask you this. Pucky scored 2 at the weekend. I think that's his 4th or 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have a future at Parkhead, does he?
I've no doubt that Pucky is probably a more talented striker than a number of the forwards we've got at our club. But I would bet my last pound that he'll never be a success in Scotland. He just strikes me as the sort of guy that will would never be successful in the Scottish League. There's guys like Griffiths and Stokes who'll probably always score more goals than Pucky would in Scotland, and I just think it's one of those things. There's obviously talent in there because of the level that he played at. Schalke, a regular international, and he's gone to Denmark and he's scoring goals, but he'll never be a success at Celtic. So
I've got a few questions here. Here's one for Ciaran. Chris.
Before we start the question, also, how happy we with now getting an international break? I think we don't normally say that when it comes to early international breaks. Oh, here we go on international. I think this has been a well timed.
Scotland.
Hey, listen, cynical man. We'll get to
Not even so much for that, just to give us a 2-week break from domestic football, so we can.
I mean, Deila did come out and say that it's a shame that we don't have a chance to rebalance how badly we played and all that. But you think to yourself, if they are in really bad form, maybe going away and some of them being successful with their national team will bring them back that little bit extra confidence. Probably not. But did you see that Bitton get picked ahead of Kyle in the Israeli squad? And the manager said, for these 2 qualifying games, we think that Bitton is a better fit than Kyle. When was the last time Bitton played for Celtic? I mean, Kyle's getting more game time now than Bitton is. It's quite a kind of
no,
weird.
Bitton's played a couple of games actually. I think they've kind of almost had the same type of amount of game time.
It's almost like Deila goes, right, I was going to attempt a Norwegian accent, but I won't. It's almost like...
It was going to be Swedish, wasn't it, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's time for a shit Israeli midfielder, right? Bitton or Kyle. I'll flip a coin.
You've got plenty to choose from.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, because Berget came on at the weekend. Did Berget come on yesterday? He did. Berget came on, and he's got a terrific beard, and he looks like a... do you know what? It'd be good to go for a few beers with, because he looks like he's got a bit of a personality, and he's probably into some really cool bands. As a footballer, I just don't know what he fucking brings to anything, because he just kind of ran around a wee bit. But I'm happy with my players looking good.
So you'd have him in charge of the team bus CD player?
Absolutely. We'll get some Pavement on. We'll get some Sonic Youth. It'll be it probably doesn't like Norwegian death metal or whatever. So Ciaran, here is a question from Chris at Paul Telfer Celtic Supporters Club on Twitter. Johansson's form. Well, we've kind of touched on that. Should Mulgrew replace him when fit?
I don't think it's a should. It will happen. I mean, the minute Mulgrew's fit, he's right in that team.
I don't understand how we went from one manager who just doesn't see a fault with Mulgrew to another manager who doesn't see a fault with Mulgrew, because we all see the fault. No?
See, this is how bad it's got. I mean, Louis and I have spent the first part of this season slating Mulgrew, and I'm thinking, Mulgrew might be a better fit than Johansson. Jesus, man, that's...
I think when Mulgrew goes back, he should go into left back, because he has but maybe defensive wise, but he has got a good left foot. So if he could get some,
a wonderful left foot, as we always say.
I didn't quite want to go that far, but okay, if he's defensively he's not the best, it's all right, because I see at times that they come back and help out anyway, so he just stays up there and lets somebody else do it. So if Mulgrew's got more quality with his distribution, then having him down the left, giving us more chances. Well, more chances to miss, probably, to be honest. So it wouldn't really make much of a difference.
There's this myth goes round that Charlie Mulgrew's really good at distribution, because he's not, and he hasn't been for the last 2 years. I'll tell you another thing about Charlie Mulgrew. When was the last time he had a free kick and he hit it over the wall?
When was the last time Stokes hit a corner over the wall? Okay,
now here's the big... Thank you for saying that. We watched the football. We watched the Celtic game last night, myself and Chris Bowd, and... I actually got up and pretty much punched the wall after Stokes' third or fourth. And this was the same with the Dinamo game. That's 2 games in a row. It's not 2 games ago. It's a lot more than that. But 2 games where Stokes couldn't get the ball from a corner past the first man, or if it was just terrible. Why is Deila, as the manager, not saying, let's practice corners?
However, there was one corner where... it was Stokes, and you could see Deila and Van Dijk and somebody else in the middle were having a kind of wee whisper, and they were literally on the penalty box, and the next minute Deila spun, back post, ball came in, landed in his head, and it was clear off the line.
Fair enough. Do you know what? One out
of 4 or 5, I suppose.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. You see, from just a basic point of view, see if you can't, if you're consistently bad at something. See if you're at work and you're doing a task and you're bad at it, your manager will either make you retrain in it or you won't do it anymore. Why is Stokes taking every set piece when he's playing? Personally, I don't like strikers taking set pieces anyway, but
he's not a striker. He was kind of playing it wide. And
okay,
you've got taller centre halves that are coming up.
My point is, something I don't understand why there's not been any sort of change or improvement.
But see, if there's been practice, is it then maybe a case of just the whole fear factor of the fans he's back is just making his confidence go? Where
if that's making his confidence go, then he shouldn't be a footballer.
I'm just going to go back a wee bit and make a point about strikers taking corners. I agree with you. Remember Hasselbank used to take them, and Van Persie takes them.
Thierry Henry.
Why?
Took them.
Why did he do that? Even if the ball bobbles in the box, they're supposed to be the finisher. They can.
Yeah.
Right.
Van Persie is an out-and-out number 9, and I've never understood why a striker. Totti does it as well, but then again, Totti
does everything.
Totti can do what he wants.
He can.
But yeah, it frustrates me because I think it's taken away a focus that you could have in the box, another attacking midfield player. But Stokes is just shite at them. That's what frustrates me more.
I think he hit Van Dijk's head a few times earlier in the season, and then I don't know. Keith Jackson probably wrote an article saying that he's a set piece expert.
But then when you look at the team yesterday, who else is there? Collins was taken from one side, but then maybe he's not kind of the angle for a left footer on that side of the park. Maybe they want to be.
If you've got Lukasu, who's I don't know what he's like from a dead ball situation, right? But if he's a winger who crosses the ball, then surely you should be.
Wasn't a winger crossing the ball yesterday?
Fair enough. But anyway, it's just very frustrating. Chris also asks, is Van Dijk even EPL quality? I think maybe Chris is going down the road that I'm going down the road that he's just very frustrated with him. Is it EPL quality? Ciaran, one answer.
Yes.
Chris. Yes. Thanks, Chris. This is for you, Chris Sermanni. Can we see any actual progress from last season? Chris is from Craig McCaffrey at Alcorta81. It seems even worse than under Neil Lennon. Thoughts?
You can't really deny that. From last season, you can't really deny it. I didn't enjoy the football under Lennon, but it was better than this. that doesn't mean to say that I wish Lennon was still here or that we made a mistake in getting rid of him. It just means that Deila's got a lot of work to do if he wants to keep his job.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I think the last week in the podcast we said there'd been subtle improvements, but he's not building in them. Anytime it looks as if there may be improvements, changes, a wee bit of progression, we seem to regress the week later. So.
With something different.
Yeah.
So we go from not having the energy and looking tired to then having energy but just not being able to finish to then being able to defend well, but there's not, in terms of performance, it's just consistency, isn't it? But I think that we're starting to lose some of the players. I think Deila's problem now is that some of the players are starting to maybe not believe in what he's teaching, and when that happens, I don't think there's any coming back from that. I just think some of the players are ignorant, and some of the players aren't the athletes that they need to be to maybe play in his system or to play under him from a regime point of view. And yourself, players are selfish. Football players are selfish, and if they want something, they'll do what they can to get it. And maybe some of these players just don't like him.
Do you personally think Deila's past the point of no return?
I think he's almost past the point of no return, and that's just from what I'm sensing from the fans. I don't think the board will sack him. Right? I don't think the board will sack him. I think I can see Peter Lawwell coming out mid-November and giving him the old backing, and that'll be the kiss of death. Do
you think? Is he one defeat away from the sack, or is he one Mowbray-style St Mirren defeat away for the sack?
I think it's kind of hard. Just again, you can only gauge people by talking to them. The amount of people I've spoke to on social media and in person who continually use the word clueless. It's the word, it's not about he's unlucky or things aren't working out. It's that he's clueless and he has no idea. That's the opinion of a big majority of the Celtic fans. People who maybe I respected in terms of their opinion on Twitter, I just don't now, because I think the stuff they're coming away with, comparing him to Tony Mowbray and he doesn't know what he's doing and he's clueless. The guy's been in the job July, August, September, not even 4 months. The guy is. We all knew this was going to be hard, and we all knew there was going to be short-term pain for long-term progress. But some of these Celtic fans, and I did the inverted commas thing, some of these Celtic fans on Twitter are just out to get him. Maybe some of that's to do with a loyalty to Neil Lennon. Maybe some of that's to do with the fact that he's not a Celtic-minded man. Maybe in 2014 there are people out there